it's Debbie with Kip's Corner. Welcome to day 16 of the December Daily Advent Tags Collaboration Project. This is a kit from Foxy Creative, Love Junk Journals on Etsy, and the link to that kit, this kit, will be in the description below. And it's a daily tag, Advent tag, for the month of December. And so if you haven't been following along, it's not too late. There'll be links below to the actual Advent calendar on Tracy's website, where it shows, you know, all the days of December, and then you click on the day, and that will take you, if the video is live, it will take you to the video of the person creating the tag. And if it's not live yet, I believe it'll take you to their website. So you'll see, you know, from today forward who's coming up, and then from today backward who has already posted their videos making different tags for different days. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, and this is Tracy Fox Creative, obviously, that's her kit, her design team, which I'm a part of, as well as a few bonus guests are all doing videos, you know, for different days. So it's not Tracy every single day. So hopefully that makes sense. And there will be links below to all of that. I also have created a playlist of all the videos that have gone live so far, and I'll put that link below as well. So you can backtrack easily if you want to from that playlist. And here we go. So this is my day 16, and this is the page from the kit for today. Oops, I'm falling over. She's just adorable. So I've got an idea of what I'm gonna do, and I'll tell you the supplies that I kind of have sitting over here that I think I'm going to use. The first thing is I've got distressed grit paste Snowfall from Tim Holtz. I've also got frosted crystal. It's a translucent embossing powder, and this makes your whatever you're embossing, gives it a matte finish, and I'll explain later why I want to use that. And then I have two of the distress glazes, also from Tim Holtz. I've got peeled paint and the new Lumberjack Plaid. Not sure if I'm going to use the peeled paint, but I'm definitely using the Lumberjack Plaid. And again, I'll show you how. I've also got a Versamark embossing pad, and I've got, these are embossing pens. They come in a set of two. This particular one is from Tim Holtz from Distress, but Versamark also makes a pen. And I'm going to be using the one that's called Bullet. And so I'll show you how I'm going to use that. And then I've got just some other little extras over here. And I have a frame that I'm also going to be using. So, and this is a chipboard frame. And it's, yeah, you can kind of see how thick it is. And this is also from Tim Holtz. They come in a package of, I don't know, 12 or so. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get started. Okay, off camera, I went ahead and cut stuff out. I've got my tag cut out, my big tag cut. I scored it and then folded it, but I'm not doing anything else with this yet because I need to be able to get to the inside. We'll show you in just a minute, but I did go ahead and ink it. And then I've cut a piece of, this is just kind of construction paper, just in a green that I had that I thought was complementary to this. And the reason I'm doing that, and I will trim it out as a full tag later, is I want to have that separation, a little bit of color there, so that when I put it on here, it'll pop. And what I'm gonna do is create a little door to a window. This little girl feels to me like she's like looking out the window or something. So there's going to be a window underneath her, and that's what this is for. And there'll be a scene underneath it, which I need to cut out. And I'm going to use, this is the extras page in Tracy's kit. And I'm going to use this little snow scene right here. So I need to get that cut out, and then I will, the first thing I'm going to do is embossing. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to set this aside. And I'm going to set this aside. Here's where this pin comes in. Whoops, wrong one. Here's where this pin comes in handy. This is what I want. Is I want to emboss. I'm going to use my Lumberjack Plaid, and I'm going to emboss just this same little red border around here. But it's a pretty, you know, it's a thin border. So what I'm gonna do is take a ruler. This is just a little, somebody gave this to me. And I'm going to set it on the edge. I'm not gonna worry about going off the edge this way. I just don't want a whole bunch of this ink to be on outside of this border. Hope that makes sense. So let me get the lid off here. So I'm just going to line this up and get my embossing ink on the outside edge here. I'll just keep doing that. Okay, if you have a steady hand, you don't need the ruler. I don't. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. So that's why I use the ruler to help get that straight edge there on the inside. All right, lumberjack plaid, here we go. Let's sprinkle this on. Okay, and now I have just this little itty bitty faint embossed edge around the tag, just to give it a little bit of pop. And when it's sitting on here, that should pop out even more. Give it just a nice sheen. There you go. Okay, but I'm not done with this tag yet. I'm gonna play with it just a little bit more. Here, I'll just leave this. I'll leave this down. Actually, wait, before I do that, here's what I'm gonna do to this. I wanna dull this down. This is got a gloss or a sheen to it. The other thing I wanna do is pull it apart. It's kind of thick, and you can see I started playing with it. So I just sort of started in the corner with my fingernail, and I'm just running my finger kind of behind it here. And it's pulling apart pretty easily. And I just don't want it quite as tall or as thick as it is. So I'm just gonna separate this so it's a little bit thinner, and just gonna run my finger, there you go, and it pops right off. And so I'll just save this and use this for another project. I can put texture and ink and stuff on here, and I have, you know, another window frame. So let me get that out of the way. And so now this is a much thinner piece. It's pretty thick still, it's sturdy, but it's much thinner. So now what I'm going to do is I want to tone that down, get rid of a little bit of that shine. So I'm going to use my disgustingly dirty ink pad, Versamark pad, and I'm just going to press this on here and get it inked up. I'm going to use frosted crystal, and I'm going to sprinkle it over the whole thing, and hopefully you'll be able to see how that tones that down. On this particular powder, if you heat it too much, it will go back to a gloss, sort of. And so you just want to be careful just to not get too much. But I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's not shiny anymore. So it's clear. I mean, there's a sheen, don't get me wrong, but it's not bright and shiny. And so now I can kind of play with this a little bit more. I'm going to ink it up and get rid of the white edges. Well, they're not bright white, but you know, get some ink in there. And then I'm ready to start assembling, I think. Close to it anyway. Oh, no, I've got one more thing I want to do. Actually, let me set this aside. I did think this through. You can't tell, but I did. Okay, on this tag, what I want to do is this looks sort of like a Victorian scrap to me, where you saw sometimes there was a lot of embossing and sparkle and that kind of thing. And so I want to put a little sparkle on here, not glitter. I don't like glitter, but I want to get a little bit of a sheen or a sparkle on this. So I'm going to use the Grit Paste Snowfall, and I'm going to take a small brush, and I'm just going to brush it onto these white parts here and around her what looks like a hood and her collar and her sleeve in all of these white furry kind of areas, and just get that little bit of sheen there. So basically just going to take a, let's see, this will work, a small brush, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to get, actually let me go smaller. Here, this one will work. I just want to get a little bit of a coat on there again, just so it has a little bit of that sheen. And this is really pretty to work with. Let's see, we'll start up here in the corner. And I want to be careful not to get too much, you know, into the other areas. So I'm just going to sort of pounce down with my brush and spread. And I don't want to get any on my embossing powder. Now the reason I embossed first is because when I was kind of playing around with this idea, I put the snow on first and realized that I got embossing powder sort of stuck into this area where there's the snow, even though it was dry, and it kind of got little red flakes in there. So I didn't want that. I want this to stay snowy white, so I'm doing the snow after the embossing. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. But let me see if I can kind of, I don't know if you can see, let's see if I can get the camera to pick it up. It just gives it that little snowy, nope, the camera's not going to pick it up. All right, so cool effect that you really can't see. We'll see if it shows up once I'm done with everything. Okay, next up, I think we're done with the embossing. I'm going to let this dry, and while that dries, I'm going to work on another part. But first, let me get this inked. Now what I want to do is glue the window on top, and then I'll finish trimming whatever's left out. So I want to get, you know, you're looking out the window and you're seeing your mom and your siblings play in the snow. So before I do that though, I feel like I want to put I want it to look like it's snowing, right? So I'm going to put some white splatters on this. I'm going to use the new to me anyway, titanium white liquid acrylic. I'm just going to put a little bit, just a couple of drops in here, and add a little bit of water. Not a lot of water, and then let's get a brush that will splatter nicely. Fan brushes do a great job of splattering, although you do not have to use fan brushes. I'm just going to splatter this. Just take my scissors and tap on the edge of this. I don't want a lot, and it's not going to show up that much, but I do want it to look like it's sort of snowing. There we go. There. Now I'm going to let that dry. Set this aside. My table all around me is just a little bit messy. Okay, let me let that dry before I can dry this with my dryer. Okay, now you can see just some light splatters in there. If you can see them on her skirt. There you go. There you go. So you can see some splatters. So when she looks out the window, it looks like it's snowing. It's snowing. Now I'm going to glue this to this, and then I'll trim off the excess. All right, trimmed out, done, and ready to go. Okay, so the idea is that this is a flap or a door. When you open it, you see what she's seeing. That's kind of the idea here. So this is going to go down here. And this is going to go here on top like that. Now the reason I'm using this green is because it gives it just a little bit more width, so I'm not kind of dead on to the frame. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside for now. And I'm going to, see, I don't know if this is completely dry yet. Yeah, it is. Okay, now maybe you can see better the effect that gives. Nope, it's not picking up the gloss. There's a sheen there and texture, and it's just not picking it up. So I apologize for that. Let's go ahead and get this on here. Now this is ready to affix to this. Now remember, I mentioned that I want this to be, boy, I didn't get that straight, did I? You know that funny how you think you did it? I want this to be a flap. I want this to flap this way. So what I'm gonna do is, this is why this is still open. I'm going to figure out where I want it. This is before I put the piece underneath. Figure out where I want it here. And I'm gonna cut a slit in just this side of the card, right down the same height as this edge of the tag right here. Kind of like that. Yeah, and then this will be a flap. Oh, I messed up something terribly. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. This is easy to fix. Here's what I did wrong. I wanted to put a magnet in here, and I want to hide the magnet. So I wanted the magnet to be between these two layers, and I completely forgot about that until just now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to still do it, and I'm just going to go ahead and double thick this. So do learn from my mistake. Here's my magnets. Those are my little bells, just in case I need them. And these are stuck together. These are really thin, wafer thin magnets. There we go. And I'm just gonna put this, I'll put one on one side, one on the other, kind of in the middle here. Doesn't have to be perfect because I can line up the other one. So I'm basically gonna glue it about right there, about in the middle. But that's okay. The good thing about that is that this will allow me to get this to be a thicker. I'm gonna come over the edge, off the edge, just a little bit more there. Not worried about that. I'm gonna be gluing another piece on. But I'm gonna clamp this down while that dries. Oh, my clamp is metal. That's funny. Okay, do I have that in far enough? Let's go in just a little bit more. There we go. There, let's let that dry. And then I'll put another back on this. It'll just be a thicker back. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add my back to this again. And let's see, I'm gonna put it on here. I've just got another piece of green here that's just a little bit bigger than the one that's here. And then I'll trim it out. There we go. Okay, and now I have a little magnet in here. And I'll be attaching one underneath the frame as well. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so back on track. Now what I'm gonna do is lay this down about where I want it. And I'm just gonna put some little marks on here of where my cut should be. And I can erase that later. And I'm gonna use the plaid as a guide, I think, right? Right, will that work? Yeah. Yep. I want to cut my slit from point to point, straight line. And I'm gonna use my X-Acto knife, which is around here somewhere. Here it is. Now where's my mark? Oh. That's right here. Is that right? Measure twice, cut once. No, that wasn't right. I want to come right about here. Okay. Make sure I'm straight, relatively straight. And then look for my mark down here, which is right there. I'm gonna cut all the way through this, straight down the line, okay? And I'm probably cutting through the paper underneath. Yeah, I did. That's okay. There we go. So now I have a slit. You can see right there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I've got some green sari silk here. I've also got some, oh, it's kind of like a canvas. Needs to go on this side. I don't know if I'm going to like the white. Of course, I can put something on here. Or if I want to use this, sorry. Let's use the canvas. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let's see, make sure I'm doing the right side, right? So I want my flap to flap this way, okay? So I'm going to put a strip, use half of this is going to go on here, and half of this is going to go on here. So I just need to put some glue down here. Probably not that much. If you get too much glue like this, a little tip, especially with fabric, and you sort of spread it, that will help prevent it from bleeding. So I don't want this to bleed. I don't want this to come through come through the fabric, and it will. So I'm just gonna spread this out just a little bit. So I still have glue on there, but it's not gloppy. Try not to get glue on here. And about halfway, about like that. Is that enough? I could actually come in a little bit. There we go. Let's straighten this up. Again, the nice thing about this glue is you have some time. And yep, I went too far. So let's kind of pull this out just a little bit. Okay. I'm not gonna cut all of the excess sauce off, but I'm just gonna cut this big piece and I can set that aside and use it later. Let's get this out of the way. And you can see by spreading that out, it didn't bleed through. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is cut this off right at that corner. Right at that corner, and I'm going to come down just a little. Well, let's see. Yeah, that works. And I'm going to cut this off right here. I'm going to try to cut this off right here. Not straight, won't matter. I really don't want that hanging off. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my slit, and I'm going to slide this fabric into the slit, like so. And it should, if I got my slit cut deep enough, should fit just about perfect. And I do need to make that just a tiny bit longer. Where did I not? Right up here at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and come just a little deeper. Not much. And slit this in. It's a little fiddly, but just kind of play with it. Once you get part of it in there, it's easy to pull the rest of it through. You just be careful, you don't want to rip this base down here. There we go. There we go. Okay, and I want a little bit of this to show through, just a tiny bit, just to give me that height. And now I'm going to come through, I'm going to flip this over. Again, make sure I've got it all in here. I'm going to flip this over and glue this down here, okay, like that. And so then what I've created, once this is glued shut especially, which it will be, and this will be glued down so it won't puff like that, I've created a little sort of a hidden door, and I need to come in here. Whoops, let me glue that back down. Okay, now we're ready to put our window in. Yay! So the window is going to go here. And I just want to set this in here so where it's, going to be covered by our little flap here. Okay. Now, here's where I need to put my other piece of magnet. So, my magnet, I can feel it, is here. It's here. It's right here. Let's see if I can mark this somehow. What do I do with my pencil? Anybody see my pencil? Here it is, it's buried. Okay, my magnet is here, and I can feel it, so it's about right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put a magnet right there. Okay, now I'm gonna glue this, my little window, onto the card. So I printed this off twice, and what I think I'm gonna do is take this bottom portion and put a little pocket here, so that when you open this, you've got your window and you've got a pocket, so bonus. Let me chop this up a little bit. All right, time to finish it off. I'm I'm gonna put an eyelet in the top, and I'm going to make a baby tag from what's left of my other piece here. Nothing dramatic. And then I also have my little 16 that I want to put on here. I might put it there, or maybe I'll put it here. So yeah, actually I like it there. Okay, I'm gonna cut right through here. Let me see what that does as far as creating a little baby tag. This is gonna go in here into our baby pocket. And there we go. Couple little things left to do. Got to put the 16 on there. All right. She's done. She's done. She's done. Okay, let me do a quick recap of what I did in case I fast forwarded too much and you didn't catch what I was doing. Okay, first off, on the front tag, I used lumberjack plaid distressing embossing glaze from Tim Holtz Distress around this very outer edge, and to get my embossing ink underneath there, I used not the brush, I used the Bullet Distress embossing pin first, then sprinkled, then embossed. Then I went into all of the white spots around, the furry around her collar and up here in the corner and around her sleeve down here. And I added, I added Distress Grit Paste in Snowfall around there. And that gives it just a really neat effect. And I just wish it showed up. Maybe if you can, it has got a little shine to it. But it's not working. Okay, and then this was just an old number I had from who knows even what, a set of some sort. I put a little tiny bit of that green sari on there and just glued the sari, and so this flips. And then I attached that tag to some dark green, just kind of a construction paper, and put a magnet in between them at about center. Then on the inside, I have fixed a strip of fabric and slit this piece, just one side of it, slid that fabric in there, glued it all down, and then glued my two sides together. So my hinge is hidden up underneath here where the sandwiched between the front and the back here. This I cut out from the extras page, this image back here in the background. I did some splatters on it. It's very subtle, but it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, so it's just a really nice effect again. On the window, I pulled the backing away from the chipboard, and so it was thinner. Otherwise, I was afraid this was going to be too tall on the inside, too much bulk on the inside for my top to close. Then I used Frosted Crystal translucent embossing powder on top, just to tone down because it was really shiny. Wanted to tone that down a little bit, and it also gives it a neat texture too. It's got a frosty sort of grungy texture. Again, you can't see it, but fixed those to the tag, added a magnet up underneath here. So there's a magnet here and one here. So when I close this, it won't flop open on me, and you can see, it won't flop open, but yet it's not, because I'm through so many layers, it's not a real tight stick, which is perfect. So that just makes this really easy to open. Last minute, I went ahead, after I kind of had everything on here, I went ahead and decided to throw a little pocket on here, mostly because this was just solid green. If you use wrapping paper or more pages from the kit or even your own scrapbook paper here on the back, then you might not feel the need to put a pocket on here, because if you've got something that, you know, something going on, it just felt kind of plain to me. So I had printed my tag page out twice just in case I needed them, and so I took the other part of this and just cut that out and created a little tag. Didn't do a thing to it other than backed it with that same green, nothing on it. I don't want any more dimension in here than I've already got. So let's put a little bit of sari silk on there, and that's it. I didn't do anything to the back. And I actually originally was gonna sew, but I didn't. I could have, but I decided not to. And so that's it. That's our tag. So you can see the sheen. I wish you could see this. It's nice. It's got a texture. I'll try to get some close-up images, maybe where that shows up, but there you go. The adorable tag with a little flap, with a window scene and a little pocket on the inside. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you all come back for the future dates. Remember, there's a bunch of links in my description box. I've got a link to this kit, to Tracy's Etsy shop, Love Junk Journals. I've got a link to the actual Advent calendar that has then links to all of the channels and the videos for this event. And then I also have a link to my playlist for this, and every day as they come out, I'm adding the new videos to the playlist. So today's the 16th. There should be, you know, the videos up through the 15th in that playlist if you want an easy way to access them. That's that. And thanks for joining me. This has been fun. I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.